What's up, guys? I'm EJ. I'm joined by Kendall, and thank you guys once again for checking out this edition of our virtual NBA Draft War Room. Today, we are talking about the Detroit Pistons. That is right, Detroit basketball in the building. Kendall, the Detroit Pistons. Unfortunately, you're kind of one of those teams where you're in that like no man's land. They got Blake Griffin. They did have Andre Drummond. They did a good job moving on from him. But
Yeah,
still kind of in that basketball purgatory. Derrick Rose is
yeah. I don't know.
playing
I
for
mean,
them.
they're starting to get out of it now. They're
They they
probably
work.
like
They
being
kind they're seeing the light, but they still got a lot of work to do. Is what I would say.
they're like, yeah. I mean, we're bad enough now to where we can get in the top five next year. We got pretty close this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're starting to see the light. Griffin will be the hardest piece to move. I mean, I was just looking at his salary. I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe that they let Stan Van do that. And I love Stan Van, but man, that was a disastrous trade. But nonetheless, Pistons here. Interesting offseason. Let's talk about it. So, record 20-46 did not make the Orlando bubble. Their season was ended abruptly after the COVID shutdown. They have picks number 7. That is it. That is all the picks that they have in this NBA draft. Team needs, Kendall. I could not believe the Pistons were dead last in rebounding. That was shocking considering they had Andre
Wizard.
Drummond. They had Andre Drummond for all those games. I guess no one else rebounded on the team, but that's an issue. They're gonna need to figure that situation out. Also, front court size is an issue because look, I mean, after even without Drummond, the guys they had playing that 4 and 5 spot, Christian Wood's playing a lot of 5. He's not really a 5 man. Sekou Doumbouya is not a 5 man. Blake Griffin is not a 5 man. So they need some size. It's not an NBA where you need to have 3 or 4 7-footers on your roster, but they clearly didn't have the kind of functional size needed to compete to me in the NBA. Backcourt depth, I think, is also an issue for this team, and especially when you talk about backup point guard. Brown he's a good defender, and he's an unselfish player, and he's a decent player, but I mean he's all they got really playing point,
Yeah.
really behind
He's not really a
Rose.
pure point guard.
No, yeah, he's not a pure point guard, and you could even argue Derrick Rose is not a pure point guard really in that sense. So the backcourt needs some additional ball handlers, and then I've also put wing athleticism. Some of the guys that they have on that wing, we'll see what happens with Tony Snell. They're playing Svi Mikhailuk a lot. They're playing obviously Luke Kennard. None of these guys are really great athletes. Only Snell really to me measures out as an average athlete of the guys they have on the wing. So I think that they need to get more athletic on the wing this off season. So free agents real quickly. Brandon Knight's contract is finally up, so he will be gone and he will not be returning with the Pistons. John Henson's a free agent along with Langston Galloway, Thon Maker. Tony Snell has a player option at $12 million. I'm almost certain he'll pick that up, but crazier things have happened, so you just gotta leave that out there. Christian Wood had a really good season for them. He was making the minimum salary, so I'm almost certain they want to try to bring him back. I don't know how they'll do that, but he will be someone who teams will probably be calling about and trying to get signed this offseason. Jordan McRae, as I mentioned, Svi Mikhailuk, he has a team option. It's only about 1.2 or 3 million, so he won't certainly be back. It's a partial guarantee. Lewis King and Jordan Bone were their two-way players this year. Kendall, when it came to targets for the Detroit Pistons, as I said, to me, I thought that they need to replace Drummond. That's a clear need for me is the center position. I do think they have a situation with their guards, and I can see them going guard, but I think they need to figure out the front court first, especially with Christian Wood, where his position is and whether or not he'll get signed by another team. They're going to have to supplement someone to play next to Blake Griffin. First guy I would look at is Onyeka Okongwu from USC. I think Okongwu is really kind of a really perfect kind of segue from Andre Drummond in a lot of ways. A lot of the things that Drummond did well for the Pistons, I think Okongwu has the potential to have a similar skill set. He can stretch the court vertically with his lob potential. He's a physical rebounder. He can protect the rim as a shot blocker, and and again, the more I watch this tape, I'm still more impressed. And again, it's not an NBA where you're gonna have a lot of post ups. Post up game is becoming less and less relevant, but I am impressed when I see some of these post ups and some of the moves he has. He's not like, he doesn't not like he doesn't know what he's doing down there. Like he has some moves as well. So to me, Okongwu makes the most sense at this spot, so he would be my first target for the Pistons.
Yeah. I mean, look, Pistons are in a weird spot. I don't love where they are. I don't love where they are in this draft. I think that there are guys that they could certainly look at. Obviously, higher in the draft, projected to go higher in the draft, and guys that maybe projected to go lower in the draft. But where they're slotted, I'm not sure if I love their position. So it's going to be interesting. New GM, new basketball ops guy, and Troy Weaver coming over from OKC. So we'll see how he if he brings any of that OKC magic that we've seen, in terms of scouting and player evaluation over the last couple of years in OKC. But to me, this is an interesting spot. But to me, I'm looking at the point guard position. Obviously, you mentioned Derrick Rose is there. How long he's there, we'll see. Whether or not he's there next year, we'll see. But he is there now. But I'm not drafting a point guard because I have Derrick Rose. I like Luke Kennard, but they need another guy in the backcourt with Luke Kennard. And I do agree that the wing depth is an issue in terms of the athleticism. To me, I'm looking at the primary guy. I'm looking at is Killian Hayes. I'm not sure if he'll be there, but I like Killian Hayes because he gives me, I think Killian Hayes is a guy that kind of needs a blank canvas kind of situation. I think ideally you want him to be able to come in and be a primary option on your team. Not maybe the best player because he's still raw, but a guy that when he grows will grow into your guy, into your primary option. Similar to D'Angelo Russell coming out of Ohio State. D'Angelo Russell didn't necessarily strike me as a guy where I wanted him being kind of a complementary piece. I wanted him to be a primary option. When he went to the Lakers, and he probably wasn't ready for it. Just like, I don't know if Killian Hayes is going to be ready for it. But when he did get ready for it, that's where he fits best. He fits best on a team where, as we saw in Golden State, he can't just be a complimentary guy. He's got to be on a team where he's the man. He's the team. The game is run through him. And I think Killian Hayes is a similar prospect. So I don't know if I necessarily like Killian Hayes in some other places like Atlanta, where I've seen people talk about him, or Killian Hayes in, I mentioned him in Chicago. If you put him there with Zach LaVine, I'm not sure about the fit, but if you're putting him in Detroit, the cupboard is pretty bare right now. You have a lot of space for him to operate in terms of shots, in terms of ball, in terms of usage rate. A lot of different factors to me can suggest that Killian Hayes would be a great fit in Detroit. They need a point guard. They need a point guard of the future. They need a face of the franchise, and I think Killian Hayes is one of the most talented players in this draft. So if he's there at 7, I'm stashing him up. If he's not there at 7, I don't like the spot they're in. I'm not sure about Tyrese Halliburton.
That's not good.
Yeah, if he's not there, because I don't know if he's going to be there. If they don't, Tyrese Halliburton, I think, is a nice player, but I think he's better served. I've said on this YouTube channel, I think he's better served playing on a team that has weapons. And I mean, his team has Blake Griffin.
But you don't think that a team with Rose and Griffin,
Luke Kennard.
Luke Kennard, I know he was hurt last year, but when he played well. You don't think that that's a team that does have pieces? Like, I kind of would disagree with the assessment that, like, oh, this is just Killian Hayes' team when he walks in. I don't think so. I mean, Derrick Rose, fan favorite, league fan favorite. People wanted him in the All-Star game last year, and right now he's on the team. I don't know if they'll trade him.
Yeah, they're in such a transition period.
And Blake Griffin is not going anywhere.
It's kind of like
they can't move him. So, yeah.
I mean, De'Aaron Fox went to Sacramento, where it's like, yeah, I mean, George Hill's there, and they do have some guys, but it's very much they're very much in transition. They're not an awful team. I may be overcharacterizing it, but I do feel like, I don't know, Halliburton, if he goes there, I think he'll play just like I think Hayes would play, but you're not winning any games.
Yeah, but I guess the reason why I'll defend Halliburton a little bit, and I think he would be, I think Hayes is a better player, But I don't think that if you can't get Hayes, that I just wouldn't think about Halliburton. Is because I think that Halliburton fits well next to Rose if Rose plays the two.
Yeah,
If
I'm
you
not
move,
thinking about Derrick Rose.
okay, you're right, and I get that. So let's say Rose is not on the team. Well, look, Blake Griffin is still the star player. I mean, he's still the guy on the team. We can argue whether or not he should be, or whether or not that was smart to put him in this position.
I'm also not
that's the roster.
I'm also not really operating as Blake Griffin's the guy.
Right, but you gotta understand that whoever they draft is gonna be playing with one of these guys at least. So
Right.
whether you can talk about like those guys not really being part of the future, and Rose definitely considering he's only got one more year left. But with Griffin, I mean, he's like there has to be some thought. Like he you can't just make him disappear. You're not gonna stretch him or get rid of him in that regard.
Look, Killian Hayes is not. I mean, he's not a nut. You know, I'm not saying.
Right, but my thing is, I don't think that Halliburton, this notion that Halliburton's got to come in and like the load is going to be too much for him to carry. I don't really think so. I think that there are other guys on the team who are going to get the shots and are going to be.
But how bad was that team last year? You know, like I don't know if
they were a bad team. They lost 46 games out of 66.
No, I don't think Hayes is coming in and helping you really that much either. But I don't think Halliburton is coming in and making you a better basketball team. I think Halliburton comes in and makes Atlanta a better basketball team. I think he makes some other teams that we'll talk about. We haven't talked about yet that I won't mention yet. But I mentioned him for Atlanta. But I think Halliburton for like the Knicks, not a great fit. And I don't know if he's a great fit in Detroit. I like Cole Anthony. It may be a reach at 7 when you don't have to. He won't be. He's not going 8. You know, we've already heard the Knicks don't really like Cole Anthony that much. So and once you get past the Knicks, it's kind of a little bit of a drop for Cole Anthony in terms of teams that'll pick him. So, you know, you might be able to trade down and still get Cole Anthony. Another guy where I'm like, look, this is a kind of a blank canvas situation. Now, you don't see it that way, it seems, but to me, it's kind of a blank canvas situation. He can come in, he'll get his shots, he'll be playing on a team that's not great, but you know, he'll be the focal point, one of the focal points. But I don't know. It is a weird spot.
Yeah, I mean, look, I see it as a blank canvas in the sense that there's nobody on the roster that I am like functionally feeling like, okay, I got to make sure that everything works well to the best of their ability, because they're either old or on lower expiring contracts or on contracts that are so bad that you're stuck with them, but they're still guys on the decline, like someone like Blake.
Right. Or just
I think, but
not
right,
married right now.
Right, and I get that. I'm just saying, being realistic about where they are as a team. Just if you're trying to be better next year, there are certain guys that are just gonna be on the team. Like there's just
I'm not
no way
about next year. Like if I'm Troy Weaver,
I agree, but I just think that like Blake Griffin is gonna be on the team. They can't get rid of him. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not saying Blake Griffin's. I'm not saying like we draft somebody that's a bad fit with Blake Griffin. I mean, ideally, you want to find a guy that's a good fit. He's your power forward, you know. But just like he's your power forward, Luke Kennard is your shooting guard. I'm not looking at Blake Griffin that much different than Luke Kennard or Christian Wood or Bruce Brown. You know, like he's on the team, but to me, like, and you're not gonna be able to get rid of him, like you mentioned. But I don't want to be caught in the situation where I'm drafting a player that's not the best player available or not really a good fit for us long term because he's a good fit with Blake Griffin.
Well, look,
because then that's how you get caught with a guy that's maybe not that good. I mean, we've seen teams do that in the past where it's like we'll draft a guy, you know, like the Wizards, you know, they start drafting guys because they want to play with John Wall, and it's like, yeah, but John Wall's not going to be there. You know?
Well, look. When you talk about fit with Blake Griffin and not caring about that as much, I agree. Which is why the other guy I have as a target for them is Obi Toppin. Is Obi Toppin? Obi Toppin's a terrible to fit defensively next to Blake Griffin. It doesn't really make any sense defensively. But could Obi Toppin be there at 7? Yes. If he's there at 7, he's almost, to me, undoubtedly the best player available. And I think if there's any chance you have of offensively in any era in the NBA making Toppin and Blake Griffin work, this is the era. It is the era where if you have two guys that can stretch the floor, that can run the floor, that can handle and pass, and they're both playing your front court.
And very athletic.
Yeah, and they're both very athletic. I mean, it's a weird fit because they're both clear 4 men who can't protect the rim. But This is the only chance you got.
Yeah.
So
You can
so
switch
to
all
me,
five positions.
right? You can switch off. You can switch multiple positions. You could definitely switch 4 and 5, obviously. And again, I think offensively, you can cause teams just hell with those two guys in front court if Blake Griffin's healthy and playing well, which we've seen in spots. He still can play. Blake Griffin's not a he. I know we've kind of thrown dirt on his name. It's not necessarily his ability; it's more of his contract. He can still play. Let me make that clear. But to me, that the fit isn't perfect because of the size and the defensive issues. But offensively, I would be totally fine saying, "Look, man, we're just going to try to outscore people and just kill people with our versatility on the 4 or 5 spot." And I would definitely take a look at Obi Toppin.
The guy I want in this draft for Detroit is Anthony Edwards, but good luck.
There's no way that's happening.
Yeah, good luck. You'd have to trade up. But to me, they need scoring punch, man. They need a guy.
That's why I look at Toppin, because to me, I agree. I think that 7. This is a weird draft. There just really isn't a lot of guys I just say, oh, like this guy's a clear, obvious, big time scorer. Like there just isn't. It's crazy that even in the top 10, I'm like, there really ain't a lot of guys like that. Yeah,
about the Orlando Magic, and it applies even
at 7.
Even at 7.
Yeah, so it's a tough spot. I agree. They need a big time scorer. That's why I'm like, yo, if Toppin's available, you take him, because they need a guy who can score.
Yeah, there's been a lot of mocks that have them taking Okoro and Devin Vassell, and we mentioned Halliburton.
I get it, because their wing athleticism is terrible. So I get it, and they don't really need a shooter per se, because Mikhailuk and Kennard they have ratchets. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have enough shooting. That's not really the issue for them. It's more of the issue of the wings that they have. They're not great defenders, really, with the exception of Snell, and they're not guys who really get up and down the court and impose their will with their athleticism. So I get Vassell and Okoro, and I would be tempted if I was Detroit to go that route, because he would be different than the guys they have. But again, the problem is, I'm like, man, they need someone who can come in and fill buckets. And my thing is, I don't care what position it's at. I'm gonna try to find that guy if I can. So all that being said, I still think if Toppin's not there, which I think it's not impossible he's not there at 7, but I think it's a little leaning towards unlikely. I think Onyeka is the best fit because of the clear hole they're gonna have at the 5 spot. Even if they bring back Christian Wood, to me he's a 4-man, not a 5-man, and they need rebounding and defense. So to me, Okongwu he's just a natural fit there. But if Toppin's there, oh man, then that's a conversation. Especially if Toppin and somehow Okongwu are still there. Unlikely that happens, but if that happens, that's a conversation. I don't know what you do at that point.
And it's funny you mentioned Okongwu, because I thought a little bit about Precious Achiuwa. I'm not the biggest Okongwu fan, so I haven't really mentioned.
But don't you think Achiuwa will be too much like Sekou?
I totally.
You could argue he's better than Sekou. Someone could argue that.
Yes, it's redundant. You're right. I mean,
yeah.
And the Sekou factor is interesting because we didn't see a whole ton of him last year. I mean, he was out there, he had minutes, but he obviously is very raw.
He's a mold of clay. I mean,
he's a mold of clay.
We're not gonna know what he is for another year or two at least.
Yeah, they hope he can be a Siakam-like guy, and that, to me, that's why I look more at the guard position, because I feel like you have Christian Wood, you have Sekou.
Remember, they got to sign Wood. I mean, remember, again, he's a free agent.
Yeah, he's a free agent.
He's a young player, but they got to lock him up.
Once you got rid of Andre Drummond, it was kind of, well, I guess we got to bring back Christian Wood, because if we don't, who we haven't, we were playing Don Maker, that starting center.
Well, he's a free agent too. So.
I don't know what the situation is with him, but they're pretty barren in the front court, obviously. But that's why I feel like Christian Wood would have to come back. But at the guard position, that's where I'm like, long term, they don't have a whole lot of youth and a whole lot of talent. Versus in the front court, I mean, look, again, you're stuck with Blake, and you got Wood, and you got Demboya. I guess you'll live with that. I mean, they're not in a great spot. This is a team that will be probably in the top 5 next year. Right in the thick of things for Kay Cunningham, Jalen Green, Terrence Clark, BJ Boston. So that's going to be fascinating. And that to me, like, if I'm a Pistons fan, I'm excited about tanking. I'll be watching a lot of
Oh
college
yeah,
basketball
oh
next
yeah,
year.
yeah. The Pistons. I mean, and the Pistons, I feel like are a team that's kind of avoided this position.
Yeah.
Like
The
the
highest they've
Pistons,
drafted, I think, is Stanley Johnson.
right? I'm trying to think. When was the last time they've had a really high pick? Like they haven't had a, like they're not they haven't been good for a long time. Let's be clear. Like
Yeah.
they've been a bad team for a long time. They only made the playoffs once in like recent history. So I'm like, when was the last? But I'm like, when was they drafting like top 4, 3, or 5 even? Like they've been in this kind of basketball purgatory forever, which is
Yeah.
terrible considering they're a team that's trying to drive interest in a new arena in downtown Detroit that they can't
I'm going to
fill.
run through their picks real quick. They
Yeah,
had Sekou last year, no first round pick the year before.
great.
Luke Kennard, first round pick. Henry Ellenson, first round pick, 18.
Oof.
Year before that, Stanley Johnson. The year before that, no first round pick. Year before that, KCP. Forget
Yeah.
he was a Detroit Piston.
Yeah.
Pistons fan, don't forget that. Year before that, Andre Drummond. Year before that, Brandon Knight. Year before that, Greg Monroe.
See, all those that was
Greg
probably
Monroe, the highest guy at 7.
I was gonna say it, but like that's what I'm saying. Like all these guys are you talking about in that 7 to like 15 range. Like they
Darko,
don't.
last time they drafted in the top 5. They're
So,
not
yeah.
drafting top 5 now, but
Right, but they're headed. They need to head in that direction, and I know talking about tanking or whatever is taboo. They can't keep drafting where they're drafting. They need to rebuild. The problem is not necessarily tanking. It's that when you build a team the way they are, like you clearly aren't doing it right. So they need to rebuild. Like to me, the fact that they haven't been drafting high enough tells me that they haven't properly tried to rebuild this thing. They've been trying to piece together
well,
guys.
yeah, because they're Detroit
you know,
Pistons. It's a lot tougher to tank when you're a team that's has so much history. Now,
I think.
Sixers-
Well, I also think it's a team that's desperate. That's also desperate for attention or desperate for interest. Like I think that's it too. I mean, especially recent years where you're getting an arena, in Detroit, and then now you got to fill that arena. Like there's pressure with all those
Yeah.
things.
they just had all those years where they were like, yeah, I mean, look, we're past the Billups era, we're past the Ben Wallace era, but we still want to be competitive. And they had obviously that weird period with Josh Smith and Ben Gordon, and that didn't work. But they're completely away from that. Now it's like we've got to really blow it up. Stanley Johnson was supposed to be the new face of the franchise, and that didn't work out. But now, this pick could be the start of that. That's why I look at Halliburton, and I think your picks also make some sense.
That's why shout out to, and by the way,
I meant Killian Hayes, by the way.
yes, by the way, and also shout out to Joe Dumars. I know it didn't end well at Detroit, but I'm happy he's back in the league working with the Kings. Had to get that shout out instead of talking about the Pistons here. Anyway, that's going to do it for this edition of our virtual NBA Draft War Room here in the Central Division, talking about Detroit basketball. What do you guys think the Pistons should do in this video? Do you guys think they should go with a guard? Should they go big here? Leave a comment in our comment section. We like to try to respond to the comments we like, so make sure you drop one in there. Like our video, and of course subscribe to our channel, New Generation Media, for more of these virtual NBA Draft War Room sessions. That's going to do it for now. For Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.